our marketing class. So, last video of the year, pretty exciting. Hopefully, you guys will have a good summer, and we'll be back in the classroom in the fall because, boy, I don't want to do this again. Anyways, so we're wrapping up chapter 18. We're going to part 3 right here. So, again, chapter 18 is all about visual merchandising and display. I expect that you're writing this down, taking notes to help you answer the questions at the end of the video. So by the end of the chapter, you're going to be able to, or the end of this part of the chapter, you'll be able to list and describe the 9 artistic elements in visual displays. You'll be able to describe or answer the question, what does, ignore that 3 there, sorry, what does a proper display accomplish? So how do you evaluate a proper display? What does that display accomplish when done correctly? And finally, why is it important to properly maintain displays? So let's get right into it. So let's talk about the artistic elements of visual displays. So these are the creative types who are creating these visual displays. They have 9 basic elements at their disposal that they use in order to create, beautiful looking displays and displays that are going to attract attention and also portray the image that they're trying to get across, portray the brand that they're trying to, strengthen. So each of these elements subtly influences your perception. And you'll see it, and a lot of times you'll see a display and say, wow, that looks nice. But there are reasons that it looks nice. And it's these specific elements that people use in order to make things look appealing. So the first one we're going to look at is line. So lines, what they do is they direct your attention. When used properly, they can focus the attention on a specific item that they're trying to sell, or just genuinely draw your eye toward the focus of the display. So here's an example. So the way that these two things use line, you can use your own perception here. So there's something appealing about these. I mean, you look at them and your eyes are drawn to certain things. They're trying to sell the clothing on the right and on both sides of these. And the lines draw your attention to what they want you to look at and what they want you to focus on in the display. The second major one is color. So color is absolutely critical. So color should contrast and not blend in with the store interior and surroundings. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but like if you're going into Target, they're not going to do, Target has that red, sort of bullseye as their target. So as their logo, they're not going to use red and white in every single thing they do. They want things to pop. They want things to stand out. So they can use contrasting colors and colors that, go well with that red. They still want to, project that image, but they're not going to use all red and white. That's not the way it works, with humans' sort of visual attention. So color should contrast, not always blend in with the interior and the surrounding. You want things to stand out. A display shouldn't just, mute into the wall behind it. You want it to stand out and be appealing and catch people's eyes, catch people's attention. So there's 3 types of colors we're going to talk about. So there are complementary colors. So complementary colors are opposite on the color wheel. So for example, reds and blues, oranges and blue violets, greens and purples. So those are on opposite sides of the color wheel. We'll see this in a little bit more detail. So you use those to create contrast. So if you have a red background, having something blue in front of it is going to contrast and get people's attention. Adjacent colors or analogous colors are next to each other on the wheel. So it's orange and yellow, or yellow and light green, or it's, blue to blue violet to purple, right? Those are adjacent colors. They're right next to each other. They share the same undertones. Of course, there's 3 primary colors. What is it? Red, yellow, and blue, right? I think so. So yes, those are the 3 colors, and use those 3 colors to make every single other color. So adjacent colors will have the same sort of base color and just slight differences. So adjacent colors, they blend well and it's subtle. And then there's something called triadic colors. So triadic colors are three colors that are generally equally spaced on the color wheel. It'll be something like, pink, green, blue, violet. They're sort of in a triangle, and there's three of them. So I'll show that again in a little bit more detail. And when used together properly, you can create what's called triadic color harmony, and is very appealing to people. And again, you may not even know it when you see it or be able to explain what it is, but that triadic color harmony is appealing to humans. All right. So complementary colors, again, directly across the wheel. So this would be a good example. So the colors in this are complementary. This would be an example of triadic colors. All right. So they're using red, yellow, blue. So generally those are across from each other in a sort of triangular fashion on the color wheel. And this would be a good use of adjacent colors. You say, oh, I think this is really cool. It's very appealing to look at. They basically take the rainbow and then sort of intersperse it with white, and then they, of course, use line and direction really well as well. But they use adjacent colors. So it's a subtle shift in color, and it really brings your eye across the entire display. Very interestingly done. All right. The third one we're going to talk about is shape. Of course, shapes are very important in displays. So shape can either be the physical appearance, so the shapes within the display, or the entire presence of the display, the entire shape of it in general. So displays often, well, basically always, they resemble basic geometric shapes. So shapeless or mass displays are also used, ones that are supposed to be sort of chaotic and not have a specific shape to them. So here's a good use of shape. So lines here, triangles, the lines draw you toward the bags they're trying to sell. There's two triangles. It's appealing to the eye. It's very well done. The color scheme is well done. And in general, a lot of times the geometric shapes you'll see will outline the entire display as well. So a lot of times it's a triangular shape that the entire thing is set in. So there's something in the middle. The things in the middle are the focus. There's things on the outskirts that are just supposed to be, complementary or just sort of, there to round out the shape. So triangular is a very popular one. This would be an example of a mass display. So not really, everything that's in it is generally, cubes, but not really intended to be a specific, certain shape or pattern or anything like that. It's a mass display. All right, direction. So a good display directs attention to the merchandise. That's how you want to use these artistic elements. You want to focus on, you don't just want to make something pretty that people go, oh, that's cool. No, you want to sell something in this display. So you want to draw people towards something. So direction in the display moves the viewer's eyes from one part to the next using all these different things. So using color, using repetition, using lighting. Lighting is also very important. Effective displays have a focal point, and that focal point should be the merchandise you're trying to sell. So displays without a focal point are considered unfocused, and that's not a good thing. So for example, this display has a very good focal point. You see the way they've outlined everything, the shapes, they draw your eye toward the middle of this pattern, and it's the clothing that you're trying to sell. Again, it doesn't get much more obvious than this. Look at the way that they've created the shapes and the colors to draw your eye toward the center of this. And it is, again, the merchandise as a focal point that they're trying to sell. So, for example, this would be an unfocused display. This is not very appealing. You don't know where to look. It's busy. It's messy. It's unfocused. Another thing that visual merchandisers use is texture. So texture is the look or feel of surfaces that's in the display. So you can have it being smooth and shiny or very rough or soft. So texture is a very important artistic element. So the texture of the display typically contrasts with the merchandise for maximum effect. So if you're trying to sell something that's really soft, then you have like hard and rigid around it to sort of contrast with the merchandise. So for example, color is great, the line is great, you're drawn to the merchandise because it stands out. I mean, it's flat, it's a fabric, and you're contrasting that with things of different texture, and it stands out. The focal point is obviously that shirt, that blouse, I guess it's called. There you go. That just looks like particle board that they've put together, and the particle board has a different visual texture than the things they're trying to sell, right? And it kind of mutes out and it focuses on what they're trying to sell. So the cowboy hat, the boots, the shirt. I don't know what else that is, but good use of texture. Very interesting looking. I don't understand that, to be honest. I've told you guys before, I'm not the artistic type, but there's something very appealing about that. It has to do with the texture of the display behind it, and then the contrast of what they're trying to sell. Proportion is very important in a display. So it's the relationship between the objects in a display. So again, the merchandise should always be the focus. That your display elements should not dominate the display, because then people are focusing on that and not on the merchandise. So the proportion here is good. I mean, they use the right size blocks. It looks sort of natural. It's triangular, first of all, like we looked at before, but the proportion of it works. It's not too scattered. The size of it makes sense. So the proportion here is bad. I don't even know where to start with this being as bad as it is. It's really busy. It's unfocused. No idea what's going on here. It's chaos. And the proportion is all off. I don't get this display. It's not good. All right, balance. So the use of items of similar size on both sides of a display, it creates formal balance. All right, it helps you create your shapes that you're trying to create, but you want things to be in balance. Like if you're trying to sell something, like a car, you're not going to create a display of a car and then little tiny things all around it. That doesn't make sense. You want things of relatively similar size. So using several smaller items creates informal balance. So if it's similar size, there's formal balance. If there's smaller items, then that's informal. So the balance of this it's basically perfect. All right, there's two similar things on either side, so the thing it's very balanced. Motion. So animation is being used more and more. You see things like bus terminals and airports. There's constantly like flashing signs and animation. So televisions and displays are being put into visual merchandising displays more and more often. So they should be used very carefully, as they can be very distracting and they can become the focus very, very easily. So this is well done. So this display, the display becomes the shoe. All right, the display meaning the projection of the images of the shoe. So it's not like a screen that's in the middle that is distracting you from everything else. It is still the display and it's about the merchandise. So that's well done. Of course, lighting. Proper lighting is very critical. So this makes the merchandise even more attractive. They say display lighting should be about 2 to 5 times stronger than whatever the ambient lighting is in the area. So ambient lighting just being the natural light that's there. You want to use 2 to 5 times more light and focus it on the merchandise in order for that merchandise to stand out. And then, of course, colored lighting can be used to create dramatic effects. So you can see the way that lighting is used in this example. So the lighting, it's backlit, so that draws your eye toward the actual clothing and sort of away from the outer edges. Yeah. And excellent use of lighting here. I mean, the shoes are dangling, the back is dark, but the shoes are lit up like they're almost flying or floating, like they're clouds or something like that. Very cool, very, very well done with the lighting. All right, so those are the artistic elements. So how do we know when we've created a good display? So there are three major things that allow you to evaluate the effectiveness of a display. So first of all, does it promote your image? All right, does it promote the image that you're trying to promote? All right. Is it appealing to customers? Is it drawing their attention? Is it working? Is it getting people to focus on the merchandise? And then, of course, really the biggest telltale sign is, are you increasing sales? If you create a display and sales go up, you know you've done something right. And if you have not, then you've done something wrong. And then finally, last part of the chapter here. So display maintenance. You'll see this every now and then. You'll go into a store and you'll see the display they have, and it's not appealing to the eye. That's one thing, but it gets like dirty or like it's covered in dust, or maybe some of the lighting is out, the bulbs are out. And that does not project the right image, of course. You have a main display and it's become old and it's, it doesn't make sense. It's unfocused and it's not maintained properly. It doesn't work. So once they're constructed, displays must be properly maintained. So displays should be temporary. So, if there's a store that you walk by all the time and it always has the same display out front, that's not good either. They have to be taken care of while they're up. And every company makes up their mind on their own, but you got to change them. You got to change them out every month or however long a company determines to be the right amount of time. But it shouldn't be the same thing all the time, because then people just will stop looking at it. Companies maintain their own policies about duration, but they have to be maintained. And then they really should change pretty frequently, because a lot of people, will come back if they know something is new. That's how people know that there's new things going on in the store, when the front display changes, when you're having sales or things like that. And of course, poor maintenance creates a negative image of both the merchandise and also that store and the company as a whole. It does not project the image that you're trying to project. All right, that's that. Last video, last review. So, list and describe the 9 artistic elements of visual displays. How about instead of 9, just pick out 3 of them and describe them to me. Tell me why they're important in a display and how they work. Second, what does a proper display accomplish? What are those 3 things you can use to evaluate the effectiveness of a display? And finally, why is it important to properly maintain displays? And also, why is it important to change them up every now and then? All right, excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure. The way that this year has ended has not been great. I definitely miss you guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in the fall. So if you have any questions, let me know. Hope you have a great summer. I will be posting one more thing in a couple days, but take care. And hopefully I'll talk to you guys soon.